passionate dog lover. And I think Scott and Judah and myself all embody those qualities. We will undoubtedly highlight her commitment to rescue animals through Green Dogs Unleashed today. She's the former president of CAR. She is, how did Keith describe you yesterday? A fair housing champion.
Yes.
A fair housing champion and a stakeholder in the community and a broker, supervising broker?
Supervising broker.
At Keller Williams Alliance.
Yes.
So you get to see our friend Quentin Beckham quite often.
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We love QB on the program. So we'll start the program shortly. Before we do, Scott and Donna, before we start the show, how are you guys feeling?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah.
We're getting some good weather, kind of some crazy, tornado in Stanton yesterday, a grain truck down on 64, just wild stuff. But, just out here doing the life thing, man.
There was corn all over
Everywhere.
Keswick.
Yes.
And I was driving our little boy to school, and that impeded our arrival to school, so he got there about 20 minutes late. But you don't oftentimes see a tractor trailer hauling corn spill corn all over the road.
I know.
It's wild, yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. All right, Judah Wickower, we can start this program, sir, when you're ready. I can tell it's going to be a good one. Guys, welcome to Real Talk on a Wednesday. Thank you kindly for joining us. My name is Jerry Miller. This is Real Talk with Keith Smith, who you will see in a matter of minutes. He had a CAR board meeting today, and he's sprinting from Hillsdale Drive to our studio in downtown Charlottesville on Market Street. Still, we have a fantastic program lined up for you. The program on Wednesday is brought to you by Ross Mortgage and Scott Mortgage Morris. Ross Mortgage, a name you can count on to get you through this market we call real estate, a market that every single week seems to have different personalities and different dynamics to it. Judah Wickower is our director. If we could go to the 3-shot Judah Wickower as we welcome some friends to the program, some Adonis friends to the program, and Elizabeth Oliver giving her props as we speak. The dynamic aspect of this show is you can offer comments in the comment section, props for our guests, and I will relay it live on air to them. Good morning, everyone. You guys are on camera. Scott Mortgage Morris and the fabulous Donna Patton. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
Good
Great.
morning. Doing great.
It's great to have you guys.
Thank you.
I very much enjoy the Wednesday shows. Donna, I've heard through the grapevine, has known Scott since, is it elementary school?
High school. I
Yeah,
think.
probably high school.
Since
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's certainly going to come up today. Before that comes up, how about Donna, you introduce yourself to everybody that's watching the show.
So I'm Donna Patton. I am the supervising broker for Keller Williams Alliance. I wear many hats. I am a volunteer with Green Dogs Unleashed, which is a special needs rescue in Fluvanna County. I raise money for them and also have a therapy dog with them that I take, and we volunteer. He does all the work. He can't drive, so I have to drive. But he does all the work, and we work with children on the spectrum. Love it. Passion of mine. It's just amazing. I teach for CAR. I was the 2016 president of CAR. I'm very involved with this, not only state, but local, and now I'm on a national committee. So real estate is my passion.
Let's talk about that passion. What is it about the industry you love? Do you like working with buyers? Do you like working with sellers? All the above. And we certainly have to highlight your passion and dedication to fair housing.
Yes. So I really do. I work with buyers and sellers. I help them buy or sell. I also do horse properties. I rode horses for 52 years, and so very much into horse properties. I like making sure people get the house that they want and help them understand the process, because even if you've bought a house before, it changes all the time. And so I really enjoy getting to know people, helping them buy where they want to buy. And I tell them I want them to have a great experience because I'm going to run into them. Charlottesville feels large, but it isn't. You run into people all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, everyone's a few degrees apart. Tell us about what you love about this lady here and how she goes about her business.
Super duper human, just kind, as far as animals go, and the being an advocate for any and everything in need, no matter the species. That's an amazing thing. I live on a horse property, so luckily I have no horses. But I can appreciate how difficult it is to find someone what they need at that level that's going to serve all of their needs. And just a lot of the things that she does is just basically being an advocate for those that are out there looking for something.
Fantastic take right there. All right, guys, let's jump into the market. We'll start open-ended. Donna Patton, 2022 has been, should we characterize it as a roller coaster ride? Is that a fair characterization?
It has. It really has. I had clients that sent me 6 houses yesterday. They're flying in to see. They're going to see 2 of them because 4 of them are under contract. And so it is very challenging. I think that having real expectations and having a qualified realtor that is going to help you understand, what the market is and exactly where you can buy and where you can't buy. And is it better to maybe build instead of buying something that's out there? It's been a challenging market. It really has.
What have you found is the best path of success, especially for somebody who's traveling in? Is it just being open to being able to see things at the last minute, or also open to, not everyone knows it. Sometimes people think they know what they want until they see something else.
Yeah. Real estate is emotional. People will tell you all the time what they want, and they buy something completely different. And so they walk into a house, and if it feels good and it's the emotional connection, they'll buy it. I never ask somebody if they want a 1 or a 2-story house. I ask them, do you need to have the main bedroom be on the first floor? And all the living aspects, the living room, kitchen, laundry on the first floor. Because they may have that and buy a 2-story house.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, people make decisions based on emotion and rationalize them after the fact. That's how we humans operate.
Yeah. Yeah. And and you have to, as a realtor, you have to move with the market. I know years ago I never did virtual showings. Now I'm showing houses virtually with my phone.
Yeah.
How often?
Depends on where the person is, quite often. I will show it to them, and my past high school friend and also client flew in from Texas over the weekend to see a house that I had shown her by my phone.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
That's some pressure, isn't it?
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
flies in from Texas based on the virtual showing?
Yeah.
How many sight unseen offers have you written?
Luckily, none. They give me heartburn.
I was going to say.
As a supervising broker, they really do. They give me heartburn. I would prefer someone that is close to them, come see the house, and then help them make the decision, because I am not close. I'm in the business. I might be close to them if they're a friend or if they're family, but I'd rather somebody that they like and that they trust help them with the purchase.
Yeah, taking that burden away and putting in, and I'm not a fan of typically a third-party negotiator, but someone else to be the eyes and ears for them aside from you, where you've gone out and you've found the property, you've given the option, but you're not the one to tell you that at the end of the day to say, hey, this is the one, so that during the process, as soon as anything comes up or you're down the road, something comes up, and it's like, well, you did this.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Yeah, and I do compliance, and I keep the agents in our brokerage out of trouble. So that's what I think that my role is, and to help my clients also, to, make sure that it is the house they want and not just my opinion.
You got a comment coming in from Danville, Virginia, from Travis Hackworth. Travis, I believe you are a CPA, but correct me if I'm wrong on that, Travis. Let us know what you do. First, before we get to Travis's comment, Ray Cadell is watching, Big Ray and the Cool Cats, Ray Cadell and Associates. He says, I'm a huge fan of Donna Patton. Huge fan of Donna Patton. He puts that in the feed.
Ray's a great guy.
Ray is a great guy. Travis has this for the panel. I wonder what the guest experience is in dealing with the issue of people's negative view of affordable housing versus market rate, and how developers might tackle that in communities that need more housing.
So I have said this, I'm very vocal about it. I truly believe that the area can do more for affordable housing.
Okay.
And not just push it out to the surrounding counties. Allow some efficiency apartments, or not apartments, or allow small, some of the lots, let's divide them. Allow more houses to be built that can be affordable. And it's really tough, especially in this market when you've got so many people that are looking at the same house and they're putting escalation clauses in. And so it's really tough for someone that is on a budget. My son just closed on a house today.
Locally?
At Lake Monticello.
Congratulations.
Yes, he closed this morning before the show. And I was luckily I found it through one of the other realtors in our company. And the seller worked with him, and he was able to get it, but he had been outbid 4 other houses.
Wow.
I had someone outbid 4 houses this weekend alone, between Friday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
making very good offers.
Offers above asking
10% over asking,
and lost every time.
and lost every time. And 3 were to cash, and I don't know what we lost one of them to, but just super well qualified. Just tough, and like I've talked before, at that under $400,000 price point.
Yeah.
What do you make of that, Donna?
The under 400 is tough. If you are under 400, under 300 is extremely tough. And you're putting escalation clauses in, and I've had people that were over 500, and I've told them, I said, put as high as you can oh my gosh, I never thought I'd pay that much for this house, if you really want it. Now, not always does the highest person win. There are a lot of times that it depends on what's in the offer.
Absolutely.
Do they want a home inspection? Do they need to get a loan? Are they willing to, if the house doesn't appraise, are they willing to come up with the extra money for that appraisal gap? So not always does the highest one win. And I think it's really important for realtors to know who's on the other side. We have to work with each other every day. Now, we work for our buyers and sellers, but buyers and sellers are going to come and go. We still have a fiduciary to them. We need to make sure that we're working with our fellow realtors and, be nice to each other. Everybody is stressed in this market. Everyone is. The buyers, the sellers, the realtors, the lenders, we're all stressed.
Yeah, I mean, that's, kindness goes a long way.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And, it was nice when Scott walked in, and I was like, I know him.
Yeah.
It just makes it easier.
Well, and I've seen Scott, I'm going to brag on my boy over here a little bit. This guy grinds for his clients. So we've been spending a week with him, one day a week with him for most of this year.
Yeah.
And he is constantly grinding on behalf of his clients. And like having, and another thing I want to highlight with you is you can get on the phone. You're reached on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, this is not something where like it's someone else besides you. You know what I mean?
Because it solves more problems than sending emails. Sometimes emails create
Ambiguity.
the ambiguity, like, wow, I didn't really appreciate that tone. It's like there was no tone there.
Yeah.
Like, and getting on the phone has an immediacy to it that if someone's, maybe they've missed emails because they were going to junk. Whatever's going on, a lot of times, and I find that with, say, title and underwriters, there's something just in who they are at what they do to where they only want to communicate by email, which is fine. But when things become time sensitive, if we can pick up the phone and solve a problem, we can be more efficient than 13 emails back and forth over the same topic. And that goes with clients and realtors. And, you know, if I'm reaching out to a listing agent to say, hey, Donna had submitted an offer on your property for Jason and Sarah, and I just wanted to let you know that if they agreed to waive the appraisal, they've got the funds to bridge that gap. If whatever, I'm supporting what may not be in the pre-approval alone, but in the offer, and they're hearing it from another party outside of just having that written in the offer, and it gives a level of confidence to having their offer accepted that may not already be there.
Great take. Donna, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes you just have to say, can I call you?
Yeah.
You know, it's much easier if we talk. And, you know, one thing that I think gets several agents into maybe not trouble, but where they don't want to be, is doing deals by text. Everybody's in a hurry and they want to do everything by text. And it's the same thing. There's no tone.
Yeah.
You know, you may say, that's fine, but not really mean that your person got the deal. But the other side says, oh, great, you just got the deal because they said that's fine. And so I think that we really have to communicate with each other.
So Carrie Griggs says we love Donna Patton. Carrie Griggs, a fellow KWA team member right there. We love you, Carrie Griggs.
Yes.
So a lot of questions are coming in right here. Great. This is from Grayson for the panel. You guys mentioned appraisal gap and bringing cash to cover appraisal gaps. How many of the deals has Donna done that meet that criteria?
Luckily, mine have appraised because they haven't been that much higher. I've been very fortunate. A lot of my clients have brought cash. I have clients that they are going to go ahead and sell and then rent or do a short-term rental, and then that way they have cash coming to the table. Not everybody can do this. And I don't list and sell as much as a lot of people do because
You're a supervisor broker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got, 116, 120 agents, so it keeps me busy.
Of the of the agents on your roster, can you put on the back of a napkin how many deals are all cash deals? I mean, YRP, we're about to show
Yeah.
Keith Smith on the show. That's a Keller Williams boutique office.
Yes.
So let's talk about cash deals and how many back of the napkin are being done. All cash deals.
All cash deals, there's quite a few, and it always surprises me because I'm thinking, wow, what happened?
3 years
I
ago,
can't
where
do
was
that.
all this money?
Yeah. I've got, my clients that are coming from Texas, they're cash. And they are, in the upper price range.
Does it shock them a little bit to be what Virginia price point looks like versus a Texas price point?
No, they're in Dallas.
Okay, all right.
So-
So Dallas is super deluxe,
Yes.
super wealthy. Yeah, it shocked my in-laws from
Uh-huh.
Long Island.
Yeah.
Because the whole not misconception, but the phrase is lower, a little slower.
Yeah.
You know,
It is.
certainly for the Yankees, and they see these price points and they're like, "Good Lord!"
Yeah.
They're not super low as people think. Dan Pettit is watching. He says, good morning, Donna. Let's go to the 4-shot. Let's get Keith Smith involved over here. Good morning, Keith. You just left a car board meeting.
I just left the car board meeting, so is there any skin left on my bones? Did you guys tear me apart for about 15, 20 minutes?
We actually didn't talk
I'm
about
sorry,
you at
we
all.
didn't talk about you at all, Keith.
Imagine that.
That's impossible. See the name? See the name?
We didn't talk about you at all.
It's impossible. It's impossible. Hey, shout out to Dan, Mustache Stan the man, on last night's rezoning for Southwood at the Planning Commission. I watched it virtually, but that man was in the audience until I think the vote wrapped up about 10:15, 10:20
Wow.
in the evening. Yes, way past my bedtime. So shout out to Dan for
Past my bedtime.
Mine too.
without a doubt. Shannon, did you get a haircut?
I think so.
Looking
yeah,
good.
do a little
Looking,
something, do a
looking
little
sharp.
something.
Looking sharp.
So how did the vote go?
4-2 in favor. Interesting.
It's a little different than you thought yesterday.
Yeah, I was a betting man. I wasn't, I also said yesterday, I'm walking myself back, thank you.
Yeah.
I have another board meeting, I have to go.
Yeah.
I also said it depends on how the public shows up. And that was Dan Rosenzweig with Habitat for Humanity. It was well organized, well structured from that perspective. And a little shout out to the chairperson at the Planning Commission. That was a hard meeting to manage. I've done that before. It was super hard to manage, and she did a great job of making sure everybody get it. But it was 4-2. It was a little close there. It was a 10th inning. Dan jumped up and was able to address a few items, and I think that swung that extra vote. So ultimately what it was interesting. I didn't get a chance to talk to Neil at the car board meeting, but it got approved with conditions, which is a strange approval. The bottom line is they want the developer to work with the staff between now and the Board of Supervisors meeting to work through some of these concerns that were in the staff report. So,
You got Nikki Chambliss saying
Nikki.
hello to you. She's watching the program. A number of questions and folks coming in. Travis, we'll get to your comment here. Let's get to Kevin Higgins' comment here. Erica Renee, Green Dogs Unleash, wants us to talk about Champ, your black lab. I saw some fantastic photos of Champ, Erica Renee. So Green Dogs Unleashed, why don't we highlight your commitment to that nonprofit?
Yes, Green Dog Unleashed, I can't say enough about them. They are just the most amazing organization. We're always looking for fosters. If you're, in the position that you can foster, if not, of course, money always helps with a nonprofit. But Green Dogs Unleashed rehomes about 450 dogs a year. And we are known across the world, or at least the country, for taking in deaf dogs, deaf and blind dogs, and rehoming these dogs. These dogs were, before Green Dogs and before some of the other rescues, were throwaway animals. People thought they could not be trained because, a deaf and blind dog, what are you going to do with that? And it's amazing. Erica, I cannot say enough good things about her. She's a behavioralist trainer, and so she works with the dogs, and she really helps them. And then Champ. So Champ did not come from Green Dogs. I happened to get him when he was a puppy, but he is the most amazing therapy dog. He just knows what he needs to do with everybody. We go to hospitals, we've gone to nursing homes, and my passion are children on the spectrum. And so we go to Virginia Institute for Autism with him. And like I say, he does the work and I drive.
A nearly 100-pound black lab
Yeah.
that is as tender as a teddy bear.
He is.
He goes around
much like Donna.
and makes people happy. All right, so guys, I'll get out of your way here. Rising rates, inventory coming on the market. We have a lot of momentum here and certainly some uncertainty. Who wants to start with those topics? You want to go, Scott?
Sure. I mean, as far as rates go, I said last week that we're kind of at a plateau. We're definitely there for now. I think that's going to continue foreseeably, even through next week when we get that 50 basis point move from the Fed. I think for a couple days after that, you're going to see the U.S. 10-year, the bond market, continue to be bought back into, which is going to drive yield a bit lower. The last few days have been really good. We've seen some positive reprices from where we were the weeks before, meaning that we've seen in the last probably 5 business days or so about 80 bit move in mortgage-backed securities, so we're about an eighth to a quarter better in pricing than where we were. I think that's going to kind of plateau. Down. We've come back down a little bit. And I think that's going to continue. I take it back. It's not going to continue to get better. I think that we're at where we're going to be for a little while this market figures itself out.
Mortgage applications, I ask you this every week. How's that looking?
Applications great. But this past weekend, I've said, it's been ebbs and flows where I go, gosh, I'm worried because people are getting beat out, and then a bunch of stuff lands. This past weekend was pretty brutal for a lot of my borrowers as far as actually getting under contract. I had one couple moving from North Carolina who made 4 offers, and very good offers, like waived appraisal, solid offers, and were beat by 3 with cash. I don't know what the one that we lost. We just didn't get some good communication from the other side. But, typically that's the guy or that's the couple that you see win, 1 or 2 in, given how strong.
Are they all cash or like 20%, 30%, 40%? All cash, yeah.
That's tough to beat.
So Donna, supervising broker, right?
Yes.
Are you seeing a lot of contracts come across your table here recently?
We are. We had a little bit of a dip, and we're seeing quite a few come across both sides of the mountain. And, it's just, I'm seeing they're sticking. They're not falling apart, which is really good.
So explain that.
So I think in a market where the buyers have more choices, they're pickier on home inspection things. Now especially if they've been beat out several times, they're like, we really like this house, and oh, by the way, we'll fix that.
The emotion in the contract is changing a little bit.
It is. Yeah. It is. And you're seeing, again, it does give me heartburn as a supervising broker when things are waived. Sometimes you have to.
Even home inspection.
Some are.
Yeah. There's ways to waive it that are more strategic than others.
Right.
Can we highlight those for the folks that are watching? Because not having a professional have any eyeballs on the property. Right. Makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
I'll tell a story about that once Donna answers.
Yeah, so there are ways. Some agents say informational purposes only, which you have to follow that up about what happens if they don't like it. But that's kind of a pass-fail.
Right.
As long as there aren't major things wrong with the house, we're good, we like it, we've looked at it really thoroughly, and we're willing to move forward.
So one of the topics that I desperately want to get into today is fair housing, since this is Fair Housing Month.
Yes.
On that end of it, and we really haven't tackled it on Real Talk as much as we did last year and this month. But Scott, from your perspective, what we're talking about home inspections, VA is a little bit different, right? Because they have their appraisal process a little bit differently. If there's something in talk about that a little bit.
Safety-related items are what come up with VA. So
Veterans Administration.
Handrails on stairs, deck boards, anything that could be
peeling paint,
cracked sidewalk, broken windows, that sort of thing. So this is something that makes some listing agents target VA buyers through their offer may be less enticing And so one of my questions that I always go out to the listing agent. So first off, I'm always making the call, I'm speaking on strength of the buyer, how great the agent is to work with, why we look forward to doing business with you, and we're going to get this thing closed, and it's going to be amazing. But if I get any kind of pushback on the product itself, my number one question is, well, what is it in the listing that you're not disclosing? Is there something about the property that you're not telling us about? What do we need to be
Great
concerned
question.
about? And then the answer is, Scott, there's nothing wrong with the property.
So then what's the
we
problem?
don't have a problem.
Then
Yeah.
what's the problem?
What's the problem?
Yeah.
So you're a fair housing guru in this area. So from your perspective,
Guru. Very nice.
He likes to flatter me.
I know, he does that. That's
well,
his
I do that
tactic.
on purpose because she kind of looks at all the stuff I submit. So I'm trying to.
Supervising broker over here. Yeah.
Well, I've got two. So
I know.
That's the problem.
One of them's your wife.
Yeah,
One of them is
One
Miss.
trumps me.
Yeah. But you teach this, right?
Yes.
Right. So you are truly the guru in the area on that. And I have to tell you, as a disabled vet, Scott's a vet on that. I'm a little uncomfortable with some of this conversation. So talk a little bit about just a quick high thing. In the state of Virginia, what are the protected classes? So what can I not discriminate? I can say this. I'll have more coffee.
Discriminate.
Got it. You guys got it. I'm going to drink more
Yeah,
coffee.
so in 2020, there were cases that were added, or protected classes that were added. Source of funds was added, and status as a veteran was added. And so, source of funds, and people, they're like, oh, well, that doesn't count in residential purchases. What does? Because if the only reason you're not taking a loan is because of the source of funds, then there's a problem.
So I received a text with the who blanked out of it, and I'll leave out who sent it to me and all that stuff. But it was a comment that your client did not win this contract because it was a VA loan.
Yeah.
And that just burned my whatever.
So the average reserves for the VA buyer is equal or greater to the conventional buyer. The average credit rating for a VA buyer is 722, and the difference in closing ratios between conventional product and VA product across the nation is 1%. Conventional
once you get in
closes-
it, they close.
if under contract, 1% greater than VA. So you have a buyer that is traditionally stronger than the conventional buyer. You have all of the abilities to combat the appraisal in ways that you do not through a conventional loan, and you have the fact that they're basically identical when it comes to closing ratios.
So let's debunk this appraisal and things coming into it.
Well, that's the biggest thing, is they think that value is calculated differently, and they being uninformed agents. Not everyone, clearly there are a lot of great agents out there who advocate for veterans and understand the product and understand that they have a trusted loan officer who's working with them. They're gonna, or mortgage advisor, I'm gonna stop using the term loan originator officer, mortgage advisor, somebody who's guiding them through the process in an educated way. If that's the case, those that don't understand for the same reason that they fear other things that they don't understand. They just don't know. So it's our job as professionals to walk them
what we're
through
doing
it
here
from the
right
very
now.
beginning.
That's what we're doing right now. But the point that I was trying to get into is that there seems to be this misconception that the appraisal, something should pop up in it and I have to fix it, right? The seller has to fix it in a VA thing. But Donna, in a normal conventional appraisal, if in the appraisal, right, we don't have home inspection, and we waived all this stuff, but in a normal appraisal, the appraiser, for whatever reason, says,
Declares it subject to. Let's say that they've gone
Thank you.
in
Thank you for
and
taking
let's say that they tore all the cabinets off the doors off let's say somebody bought a house that needed some work. And they got into it and they realized maybe doing all this work isn't for me. And then they turn around and list it. An appraiser is subject to the opinion of, they could demand that the repairs are completed before they give value to it, if they think that the situation has created a functionality problem.
So Woody Fincham at Fincham Associates is just a recent sponsor for the show, which I'm so thankful for. Sat to the right of him today at the car board meeting. He's going to come in and sit down with us the first Wednesday of May to talk about appraisals in depth. The point I'm trying to make is though if there's a conventional appraisal and it says on it the handrail is not safe. You can have in a conventional appraisal say that must get fixed before closing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And the point I'm trying to make is that's a possibility regardless if it's a VA or a conventional. Is that a fair
Correct.
statement?
Correct.
Yeah.
So therefore you shouldn't be doing it period to a vet in my opinion, but that's a whole different subject. But in reality it's valued as better, right? And a conventional could potentially have the same issues. So why not accept it? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So from a fair housing perspective and a supervising broker?
Yeah, there's really no reason not to accept it. Now, of course, you always allow your seller to make the decision, and we know that the agents are helping them with that. And when I do multiple offers and have on listings, I only put the facts into the spreadsheet. I don't put the people's names. I put the prices. I do put what loan type it is and what they're putting down and whether they're going to do the appraisal gap. But, and I tell people, VA loans, they close.
So
They really do. And another thing that I don't think people realize is it's not only the appraiser that may throw a condition in. Your insurance company
Sure.
may throw a condition in. I just had that happen. They said, you must have a certified roofer come look at that roof because it's original.
And
before we're insured.
that stops the closing process,
It
correct?
does.
Any
Yeah.
thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, 100%. I've also seen pool fences come up as well.
Yes.
So when it comes to odd things that nobody saw coming. Yeah, I mean, that's, ultimately one of the things when we talk about in the spreadsheets and money down, I've had agents say things, there's nothing that really pisses me off more than hear someone say skin in the game. It's like, their skin in their game was their service to the country that gave them a product that that the other clients or offers don't qualify for.
Right.
That's their skin in the game.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Can you
I
turn
agree.
that into a sizzle reel, please? A highlight reel. That was passionate and that was
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Kevin Higgins, multiple questions for you guys. We've dubbed him the King of Greenwood because of his contributions to this network. So 2 comments. Are we living in a real estate calm before the storm? I like what's happening in the area of real estate, but I'm not sure I believe it. Is 2008 coming again, or are we the new tech valley? Are these prices truly sustainable? Then he also adds, what are characteristics you look for in a buyer within seconds of meeting them for the first time?
Great question.
So multiple questions right there. Donna, you want to start with this?
Yeah, so from everything I see from National and from The Economist and stuff, I truly don't believe we're headed for an '08. Whether the prices are sustainable or not, I don't know. I don't,
Explain what that means there. So are you meaning sustainability in that it's double-digit appreciation year over year, or you mean that it's going to eventually start slowing down to 2-3%
I
appreciation?
think it's going to slow down. I think as the interest rates go up, I think it's going to slow down. I don't think it's going to tank like it did in '08. There were a lot of factors that made '08, and a lot of it was not the housing market. It was the lending industry and the government and what they were doing. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think that, it is, the backlog of buyers is the issue. I mean, we don't have enough houses for people. And people say, oh, well, I don't want them moving here. And I have upset some people in the past. And I said, do you have children? They're like, yeah, why? I said, well, won't they need someplace to live?
Yeah.
You can't say, don't build houses if you've ever had a child.
I was having a conversation with a neighbor where I'm at, and they pretty much were just completely accepting the fact that their kids will never be able to live in this area.
Yeah.
Despite them wanting to move here, my neighbor literally said, well, you know, this place is too expensive. My kids will never be able to afford to live here.
It's
And
not-
just had it like that.
Yeah.
Like completely like that and was completely cool with it.
But it's not this whatever this place is. It's not just
It's
this
everywhere.
place. This is a national
It
Yeah.
housing affordability issue, and I would encourage folks to go back and rewatch. It's a 4.5 hour meeting, but last night's Southwood meeting. And if you really want to understand what this is all about, and really want to understand diversity, and you really want to understand fair housing, listen to the residents as they got up. Some of them were interpreters. Some of them, you know, just to take the guts to stand up there and talk about what housing meant to them and how important it is to them. But, you know, and I'll let Scott jump in, but, you know, my record is pretty clear. I've stated it multiple times. We are not going to see a repeat of the time of great unpleasantness.
Yeah, when you talk about that,
No, go ahead.
when you talk about his part of the question of is this sustainable? Is the pricing, has it stuck? Yes. There is not a 20% correction coming, and those who are going, I'm just going to wait until, you're going to wait until you found yourself priced further out of the market. Now, 20% year-over-year increases, God, no, that's not sustainable. I think we get into a 3 to 6 range. You're going to see some things. Some of it's going to take some time. You're going to see a certain population of people who took the ability to refinance or purchased at a time when rates were very low, where they're going to build some equity, and then they're going to have life changes, and they're going to maybe take some cash out down the road, and then they're going to be forced into a higher rate, and that's going to open up their mindset as far as moving towards a different property. But there's going to be some time involved in getting there. And I think we're probably 3 years into that. And then hopefully in that 3 years, we get some new construction, but we're definitely going to go through a time where we're stuck in a very tight inventory environment. And that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of success out there to be had for those in the industry and for those who are out there looking to buy a home. If you're buying at a rate now that is higher than the rate was a year ago, that doesn't mean that that life is treating you unfair.
Or that you made a bad decision.
Or that you made a bad decision.
Yeah.
As soon as you purchase and you are building equity, you are in a better place than you were when you were paying rent and not building equity.
Yes.
So-
Great take, Scott.
Yeah.
So tune in on Friday when we're going to have 2 city councilors sitting in the seat, because I'm going to outline that exact scenario on a land trust project on Nassau Street. So look, I talk about this all the time. Pool as buyers is super high. Inventory is going on right now. It was funny. I was at the baseball game with mom and dad, and the guy in front of me was go, "Hey, I seen your face somewhere." And my answer was, I don't owe you money. I don't know what you're talking about, right? But you know, it goes, "Well, hey, I know you're enjoying your family, but can you tell me where the market's going, right?" And look, the explanation that I've been giving right now is with this 5 or 6% and potentially 7, because I personally think that's where we're going to end up in 12 months or so from now. Just that buyer pool is coming down, but what's doing, it's carving off the first-time home buyer and the people that have cash that can buy down interest rates. So we might want to talk about that.
Not just buying down rate. The cash problem that I see is where things get tough at 350 and below. Is that's still where there's investors who are going out saying, I can buy this and rent it for X. That's still on the table, and that's what's making it so competitive for first-time home buyers.
So what
or it's a piece of it.
So what interest rate is the rent they're paying right now?
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, the only thing in that question that scares me is an email I got this morning, not from you because you're a pro, but the only caveat out there.
Adjustable rate mortgages.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Jerry reminds me constantly that this lives forever. So I mean, I had a 5.1 at 3% or something like that.
Yeah,
Are we going there again?
I mean, I had 2 agents text me about it yesterday. So yeah. I would
So
say
what's happening with that is this market, these buyers that got carved off because they don't have the cash to say, okay, instead of buying, financing, and I'm just picking numbers, buying a house for $350, financing 100% of it or whatever it is, they're going to say, okay, I got $50,000, I'm going to finance $300, so my monthly payment is at where it was at 3% or whatever it is. That's the buyer that's in the market right now. What I fear is that if this ARM or this creative financing comes back in the market to help the first-time home buyer, and I'm all about that, that's when we might get into a little bit of trouble. I'm
You buy
worried-
that, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, there's some of it, but my concern.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying if that.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think my opinion on it, though, is that a lot of investors don't want ARMs because they don't want the short-term debt. Because my argument is, I think that we're going to be at a lower interest rate period by the time they adjust than not. So
We can't bet a mustache on that because you ain't got one. So.
yeah, it grows in gray. I'm trying to stay blonde.
So
Somebody
if
said,
someone does an ARM, and it's a 5-year adjustable ARM,
What happens?
if the rate drops, do they have to wait the 5 period, or can they renegotiate prior to the 5 period?
they could refinance out of it if it went lower than where their current rate
Which they
is.
won't do
which-
because it costs them money.
I mean,
It has to be
It
substantial.
would, yeah, I would say it would have to be probably. It really makes sense at 0.5% or better, but you'll see people pull the trigger at a
I mean,
quarter.
the
depending.
5-1.
Well, just to get out of the risk, you'll
Right.
see if it, let's say
Yeah,
it got
that's
to
a
the
different story.
same rate, you'll see people who it would make sense for to get out of the risk.
To lock long term?
Yeah.
So why don't you take a second and explain what a 5-1 ARM is, or how that actually works?
So it after a 5-year period, it'll adjust. It can adjust up to 1% greater based on the LIBOR, which is
It's a bit complicated.
and then it can then adjust another 2 years after that.
So the fear is if I take a 3% 5-year ARM right now, and 5 years from now, interest rate's 10%, right? What would my interest rate be on the 6th year?
There's a couple other factors there.
Got it. It's not
But
that
let's
simple.
hypothetically say, so in the 6th year, it could go up as much as, let's say,
It'll go up.
it'll go up,
Right.
and then in the consecutive next adjustment period, it could also go up again.
So all of a sudden, I could be 6, 7,
You could
8.
be, yeah, you could conceivably be
That's the
7%.
point I'm trying to
Yes.
get
Right.
to, and that's so
So scary.
So my caveat about are we ever going to hit a 2.8, 2.09 time of great unpleasantness is as Donna said, if the regulators start changing the process and the credit approval process changes on that end to help the inventory a little bit, that's my biggest fear. I don't think it's ever going to
To
happen.
help the cash strapped buyer.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm.
Your thoughts on this topic, Donna?
Yeah. And I was a realtor in '08 because I've been doing this for 26 years. And I just know there were so many buyers that ended up with these ARMs. And when they flipped, they not only was the house not worth what they paid for it, but they could not afford the mortgage. And so that is scary to me. It really is.
Look, I'm not trying to do doom and gloom. It's
Right.
it's just something that we're going to be looking at every Wednesday.
We do.
Right, to say, hey.
Because the ARM offers an advantage to the buyer that does not, especially the first-time home buyer.
You know
does
who it's
not
great
have a
for?
ton of
It's
money.
me.
Let's talk about who it's great for.
It's
Not
great
just
for
that,
me.
not just that person. Let's talk about people moving into this area specifically that it's good for. Let's say you are a resident at UVA. You're coming in to work for NGIC, DIA, or one of the alphabets up
And you're
29.
leaving within 5
And
years.
You're leaving within 5 years.
Right.
So you're going to get in. You're going to take the advantage of the short-term interest rate, and then you are committed to refinancing or selling the house at that point, because you're either going to turn it into an investment property and retain it, or you're going to sell it, get out, and go find something else. Those are the people that is best for.
Yes.
So let's talk about me personally. So we have this debate, a very public debate. Mrs. Smith and Mr. Smith are
Sell
having
your home, Keith.
about
Sell your home.
Sell a house. And look,
Yeah.
let's face it. And this
You're not
is
getting any younger.
You can't sell it for more than right now.
I heard that, by the way. I have new hearing aids. I heard that.
New hearing aids.
I have new hearing
Yeah.
aids. I actually, this is a scary thought. For the last 2 to 2.5 years, I couldn't hear what I was saying. Now I can. It's a scary thing. I just got to tell you. So, look, for Yona and I, it would be a great thing, right? So we would sell our home. We'd have a little bit of cash out of it. Frankly, I don't want to buy something at $800,000 at 5 or 6%, but I'll buy something with a 5/1 ARM at 3% or 2.5%, because I know in 5 years, right, I'm going to be 65, or whenever we do this, 70, in that range, and I know for a fact we're going to be moving someplace else. That's going to happen at some point. So I'd be all over it, because now the math works for me.
Right.
On that end of it. But if I'm a first-time home buyer, man, that
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good advice.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that that's the main thing, is for someone who also, talking about hedging risk. So why are you putting somebody who's making a first purchase, who is in the beginning stages of a career or starting a family, who may, or, you don't know are they married, not married, what that future looks like for them, to where they're going to be forced to make a decision in 3 to 5 years. Whereas somebody who has some capital, they've made, they're in a more secure position, and has the, even if they're unhappy about it, nobody likes change. They could have a developed plan to go out and make a move that, they're less likely to put themselves in a bad position than somebody doing this for the first time.
So we talk about trusted advisors all the time on Real Talk, right? And this is the reason you need a trusted advisor to help to go through here. What I'm a little fearful for is that this first-time home buyer, these younger buyers are so desperate, right, that they might end up making bad decisions without having the trusted advisors at the table. And I'll go back to talk about a home inspection issue, but that wraps that up. But I think Jerry,
We're in that level of desperation.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in that realm. Here's an agent, Will Nafay, watching the program.
Hey.
And
Hey,
Will
Will.
says, Scott, I was in the position that you were in this past weekend as well, 0 for 4 on offers this weekend. And Will said all his clients put in great offers. We went 0 for 4, all of them outbid on this past weekend.
But the question, Will, was the multiple offers greater? In other words, let's say a month or two ago, was it 10 or 15? You're only competing against now about 3 or 4. That's an important piece of information on it, because I was in the same position this weekend, lost everything that we had. Came in second out of 4 on each one, but second is in first place.
So, Will, offer a little more perspective on that, if you could, please. Beth Dunlap Marcus giving
Hey,
Donna
Beth.
Patton some props. We love Beth Marcus
Yes.
at the I Love Seville Network. She is fantastic
She is.
people, and a foster failure of her own.
She is.
Beth Dunlap Marcus, a lot of people don't know this, probably fosters the most amount of dogs of anyone maybe in this community.
She's a dog midwife.
She's a dog man. We love you, Beth.
Yes.
Jack Crocker, hello, welcome to the show. Michael Sargent, hello. Bailey Lloyd, hello, and welcome to the program. Donna, your thoughts on some of these topics that we've been talking about here?
So, I want to circle back around fair housing and what happens with all of this market and our area. Because as we continue to watch this market and people getting beat out, is it making people move further out? And
100%.
drive till you qualify is a horrible thing. Because what happens if you have 2 cars, you have 2 people working, one of the cars breaks down, they lose their job. They no longer can get there. Maybe they have a child that is in a school that is far away and they get injured. You know, I really believe that people who own houses, the kids are more stable, they feel more secure, and so if we can get a more affordable housing and help the governments and stuff like that realize that, yeah, it's really great to have all these big lots in some of these rural communities, but that pushes people out.
So again, if you would watch the folks from Southwood that got up there and spoke about that, it was exactly that.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've owned a home. It was a really awesome thing to listen to. And the public hearing portion on that went for a substantial period of time on that end of it. So, you know, you're spot on. But my fear as far as fair housing goes is as the desperation increases, there's some real, we see texts like the one I described earlier popping up. And I don't know if Scott, you're seeing some really maybe off-color things, pardon the pun, on that and on your end of it around affordable housing.
I mean,
Fair housing, excuse me.
I get feedback generally that is less that says a VA offer is less attractive, if that's specifically what we're referring to.
An FHA, same thing.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to take them.
But that's the point. So that is technically a violation of fair housing because it's of how I'm going to pay for it, correct?
It's a source of funds.
Source of funds.
So the truth really is, I think conventional is, in a lot of cases, a less attractive product because the other side doesn't know what the true qualifying aspects of that pre-approval letter are. So if you've got someone with less than stellar credit who wants to put down mortgage insurance and, put down 20% so there's no mortgage insurance, but they're on like an iffy...
A bubble?
Yeah, they're like on the, does this truly run or prove eligible? If that work wasn't done on the front end, you're out there as a listing agent facing as many... vetting the quality of these pre-approvals as much or more so than the actual offer itself. And that's why having a lender who can take the time to, reach out, solidify what you're receiving on paper with a text, a phone call, something to show that these buyers are the most qualified. I don't get to see what the details of the offer are, but at the same time, I might ask a couple qualifying questions. Hey, is there anything that you want me to reiterate to the listing agent when I talk to them? Hey, by the way, Joe, the offer you received from Donna for Keith, there's no home sale contingency here. Whatever it is that a bell that we need to ring to make that look as strong as it actually is versus what it's up against is, what we want to reiterate.
Mm-hmm.
The best tool available to a buyer's agent who's trying to sell a home is ask the seller agent to call the loan officer, or what do we call that now?
A mortgage advisor.
Mortgage advisor, excuse me.
Yeah.
The mortgage advisor, so that you and the listing agent can have a conversation without me involved in it about the strength of the fiscal ability of the buyer. That is a tool that, frankly, in today's market, again, I will leave names out of it. I showed a home over the last weekend that in very bold letter in agent notes, it said, "Don't call me." Literally, they would not receive phone
Wow.
calls. So Mr. Miller knows what I did. What did I
Picked
do?
up the phone and
I
called
picked
him.
up the phone and called him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That particular, he or
Yeah.
she, whoever it might
Right.
be. They didn't take my phone call, but I relentlessly called them until they did. And I said, "Look, I want to talk to you about your listing, tell you about my buyer, okay, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to get, just a basic conversation
Right.
about it. How's your showings going? Do you have any offers?" Just some very basic professional thing, but it was in bold letters, don't call me.
Well, it's
Right.
because we're in a market where some people don't believe that they need to really do their job.
Well, they're resting
Yeah.
on their laurels.
They are.
Yeah.
Because for so long, it's been gravy train.
Yeah.
Ann Elizabeth Oliver, there's also an issue with first-time home buyers who receive down payment assistance from organizations like Piedmont Housing Alliance.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so the interesting question. So PHA, Piedmont Housing Alliance, in full disclosure, I am the chair of the Piedmont Community Land Trust, which we are now merging with PHA. So we'll disclose that and get that out. My supervising over, I wanted to make sure that I got that out there. So the reality of it is, in most cases, it's a second loan.
Yeah.
In most cases, it's a second loan, so that's why it's important. If it's a grant, that's a different animal, right? But most,
Because the grant doesn't have to be paid back,
correct.
Right.
In
where the loan does.
most cases,
And that's going to raise some red flags with what you do.
No, the biggest
No?
problem
Is your
with,
loan
the
date.
biggest problem with grant is once you say the word grant, like I don't sell the grant to borrowers because as soon as you say that, they hear zero. And the problem is typically you're going to need 1%. You're still going to be paying closing costs. There's an amount of money that home inspection, appraisal. There's an amount of money that they're going to need to get through the transaction. And if you can explain to them that the loan is 2 loans and that everything outside of that, this is going to be your cost. If you can separate those 2 things, you can do a better job of servicing, advocating, educating the client. In my opinion. There are some benefits to the grant for the right person. It certainly makes sense. So I won't say that it's something that I steer people away from, but at the same time, for someone who's really trying to bring the least amount of money, typically a first and the second is going to be the way to do that.
yeah. So on the grant thing, so it's I use the word loan because it's really not a grant. Is I don't have to pay it back. Generally, what happens is depending on the grant product or the down payment assistance product, if you're in the home for so many years, then it decreases, right?
Yes.
So they're very different. Some are 5, some are 10, some are 15. There's multiple plethora of options out there.
Yeah, and some of, then some of them, you don't have to pay them back until you sell the house.
Yeah, which impacts your, and again, on Friday, we're going to talk about this because I'm going to do a math analysis. Get ready, Jerry.
man.
Math analysis.
He's going to take his shoes off.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. Note to self, wear flip-flops on Friday.
That was a zing to Keith that he needs his toes to count past 10. That's what he was doing, Donna was doing there.
Actually, Don, I have to be very honest with you. This is much tamer than I anticipated today to be.
Well, we still haven't gotten into the realtor.
No, actually, I did that at the board meeting today.
Did you?
Oh, I did, and I
She's working with Keith on pronouncing what he does for a
And
living.
the thing is, he can do it because I've heard him.
Oh, I know.
consistency is key.
Well, yeah.
So I did it. I used the word in the board meeting, and it
You
was
mean
like
realtor?
I used the word in the meeting, and everybody's head turned to me, and I went, real estate professional.
Yeah.
Dan Pettit, do most offers have the escalation clause in the offer?
boy.
Most of the ones I'm seeing are.
Yeah. Well, I have a very.
You're not a fan of those.
I'm not a fan of those.
Explain why.
Yeah.
Lead with your best foot.
No, because we're talking. It's Fair Housing Month. Talk about a slippery slope.
Yes.
Right, and talk about how you can inadvertently violate fair housing with those things. It's just. I'm not a fan of them. They're just doesn't feel right, and
I
it's
know.
just. I'll let you tackle
and
why.
Also another thing that I would want to caution, and I've already said how I do it, but if you're doing offers, are you letting the seller see all the offers? Also, another thing with fair
Or are
housing.
you just doing your spreadsheet?
Yeah, you're doing your spreadsheet. Because it's just like these Ring doorbells. Who's watching?
Yeah.
How are they actually picking the person that's buying their house?
Yeah.
And we want to think people are fair, but they aren't.
Well,
Not everyone is. And, they might say to their neighbors, well, I'll get you a good person in here because I love my neighbors. But the thing is, if you should be able to live anywhere you want to as long as you can afford to live there. It doesn't matter who you are. I am extremely passionate about fair housing. That's why Keith asked me on. I teach it. I teach at home with diversity.
Besides, you said, when am I coming on the show? So that was that whole issue.
Yes.
And you're good at your job.
Yeah. And, if you can afford it, great. Let's
It's just
get you
a
there.
slippery slope when you have multiple offers and they're so close, and
It is.
who comes in first, who comes in second. You really have to have your act together
Yeah.
to manage those on that end of it. And most folks don't know. So if I have an escalation clause that says the house is $450,000 and I'll go up to $500,000 in $1,000 increments. Well, first of all, that tells me as the seller, hey, you can afford $500,000. So what do I do there,
Yeah.
right? But the way it's written is if Scott puts one in at 401, it's going to be $451,000. Well, and there's only two offers, then the contract's 452, not 500,000.
Right.
So now you have to have this whole explanation with the seller. It's not 500,000. Well, they said they'll go up to 500,000. Is it? No. It's Scott's is 451. The other, and oh, by the way, if the first one is 1,000 over the next highest one, now again, and this thing can just snowball. And it becomes this really.
Yeah.
It's obvious to me why it's not the best tactic, but why is it utilized so much in this market? And Michael Sargent says, amen, Donna. Why is this strategy utilized so much in this market? Because it's prevalent.
It's a tool, right?
It is.
It's the tool du jour at the moment. I think once the market starts stabilizing, I don't want to use the word change because it's stabilized.
Right.
You'll start seeing that.
Yeah.
Once they started doing it on Price is Right, found out that it worked. Here we are.
Yeah.
Bob
You know,
Barker,
that's a
reference
scary
over here.
thought. That do you actually watch Prices Right?
I think he watched
Look
Happy,
at him, he's turning red.
watched Happy Gilmore the
I
other
watched
day.
the OG Price is Right. That was like the reason to fake sick when you were a
Oh.
little kid.
Well said.
Yeah.
I loved it. Bob Barker, the OG Price is Right, is
Yeah.
what he's talking about over here. Your thoughts on the escalation clauses? They're clearly getting traction here with viewers on the show.
They are. If you've got a buyer that wants it and they can put the extra money in and they've been beat out 4 or 5 times, I don't like them because it does push all the prices up. But am I going to tell my buyer, I really don't think you should do that and you should just wait and lose out 4 or 5 more times?
So on the listing agent side, we recently just had one where we had 3 offers were exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same terms, exactly the same price, exactly the same escalation clause.
Uh-huh.
And how do you do that? How do you manage?
Then you
Did
have
you
to go
go,
back
was it
higher.
rock, paper, scissors?
No, highest and best.
There you go. So we ultimately ended up there anyway,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we got 3 offers. You've got until tomorrow at whatever
Yeah.
to give me your highest and best offer. And then that's where this whole fair housing thing comes in, because now you're getting phone calls because you're trying to get me to tell you about the other offers.
What do I need to do, baby?
What do
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
what- would that Bob Barker say that?
Well, and
That
I
sounded
have to
very
circle
Bob
back
Barker
around.
to me.
That's more Drew Carey than Bob Barker.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
now that's
said-
a show.
Drew Carey is the host of Prices Right
No,
now.
Yes,
I'm talking
they are.
about when he used
Oh,
to do.
Whose Line Is It
Whose
Anyway?
Line Is It Anyway?
Oh my
That
gosh,
was a
that
fun
was
show.
the show. Yeah.
Go ahead, Donna.
Also
So
a
I
Marine,
want to
by the
circle
way.
back around when you said you called the agent and said, let me tell you about my buyer.
Well,
What did you tell them about your buyer?
yeah, I just told them that they're moving from the Northeast.
And don't tell them about any of these love letters that you write. We're
I do
to-
not.
You
I
can't do
I
love
do not
letters.
write
I know.
love letters.
I know, a supervising broker over
I
here.
do not
We
Look
don't
at
write.
allow-
Nashville Keith over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
huh?
So how about
We
them
don't allow-
Mets?
About that.
Yeah, we don't
How
allow.
about them Mets?
But,
Yeah. So by the way, there's a rule in here.
Yeah.
Just that, we didn't get trouble. When I take a sip of a cup of coffee, we change subjects.
That means he's thinking about a way to get out of the situation
I
when
am-
he's doing this. I need more time to think really quickly. Yeah. I know you well enough. That's what's happening right here.
Segura, look at that pearl closure.
So, but calling the other side and saying, let me tell you about my buyer. Well,
You gotta be careful.
How
Yeah.
much?
Yeah.
So very innocently, years ago, I had someone that said to me, you know, does your buyer have kids? And I said, you can't ask me that. And they're
Sure.
like, what do you mean? I can't ask you that.
Yeah.
And I said, that's a fair housing violation. They said, well, my seller wants to know if they should bake cookies. And I said, we like cookies, have them bake cookies.
Yeah.
I never answer the question. You cannot ask certain things.
And I know that,
Yeah.
Mrs.
You cannot
Patton.
ask.
This question's come in. With the escalation clauses, how many times does the top of the escalation become the sale price of the home?
So I've actually seen situations where other offers were accepted other than the accelerating
Yeah,
clause,
I
which,
had one.
which it was for other reasons, right?
More cash, no
More
financing,
cash.
yeah, no inspection.
inspection.
Which
Yeah.
I want to get back to this no inspection story that happened to me yesterday that I want to share, that the dangers of that.
The escalation clause is tipping off your ceiling. So I guess the question's coming in, if you're escalating, if you have an escalation clause, isn't the seller just going to go to the top price point?
But they can't. Unless they can, well, they can't.
That's the
Unless it pushes it up there,
So,
if the other offers do.
is Yona watching?
Your wife watches everything you do.
I know that.
Yeah, everything you do.
As she should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she should.
As
She has a
should.
mini camera on you
As
everywhere
she,
you
as
as
she
go.
should.
as she
You
should.
should explain this though, of how.
Well, not explain it. I want to ask Donald a question.
Yeah.
As my one of my supervising brokers. You believe that? That's crazy.
Well, he's the only one that needs two.
I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for it.
I mean, he's 3-4 days a week here talking about what he does in very public setting. I see why he needs two over there.
You're not helping me, but
I know,
I
I
thought you
know.
were my buddy.
I know. This is a good topic though. This is a good topic.
So I've got 3 offers, and this is a question.
Uh-huh.
I've got, just bear with me for a minute, Scott. I've got 3 offers in here, right? Accelerating clauses, yada, yada, yada. I've got the 4th offer at $500,000, whatever it is. Why can't I just scratch out the escalation clause on that, have my client sign it, initial that, and hand it back and say, our counter's $500,000? Why can't I, can I not do
They
that?
can do
That's what I
that.
thought.
I'm not sure that the agent on the other side is going to say, wait a minute. No,
Then you go to the backup offer.
But I'm amending an offer,
you
right?
are
I've got
amending
offers
it.
in front of me.
But that
That's
doesn't
what I
make it
would do.
ratified,
My client,
because
so-
they would have to agree to it.
well, correct. I can do that. So,
Right.
look, when contracts go back and forth, there's 3 things can always happen, right? Acceptance, rejections, or counter.
Right.
Right? So I've looked at all the 3 of these. Scott's my client because Scott's my client. And Scott looks at it and says, I want that number. I'm going to scratch everything out. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to send it back. I got a pre-qual letter that says they can afford $500,000. I picked up the phone, called up Scott. What do you think? You think they can do this? Yeah, they can go ahead and do this. I've done my homework. I think $500,000 will appraise or whatever it is. I can mark all that stuff and slide it across the table. Now you can accept it or not.
Right.
And if you don't, so thank you very much. Then I go to the second one. Then I go to the third one or a third one.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just.
You're tipping off your hand.
Look,
It's like having pocket aces and then an ace on the turn, and you're basically telling people before the final bet that you're going to win the hand.
So here's the risk at that, from a buyer's perspective. I can lose all of them.
Right.
Seller's perspective, I can all of
In
them.
this market, that is unlikely
Yeah,
because of the depth of the buyer pool
Yeah,
Right.
but it's
and the
changing.
shrinkage in inventory.
Yeah.
at least before the escalation clause fury, if you will. When you went back at highest and best, you didn't know what someone's highest and best was.
Right.
Well,
You
I
know.
tend.
Your thoughts, Scott's got some.
I will say that even with highest and best, I sometimes see that number being less than what their client is pre-approved for. And what I mean by that is, so I got Joe and Sally going out. They made an offer. Agent sends me, hey, we're going to escalate to this. Can you send me a letter to match? So if they were pre-approved for 600,000 and we're only going to escalate to 450, that's
give them
not
the 600,000.
Yeah. That's not their ceiling. They're getting a letter that's going to
Well,
match.
that's, we do this all the time, They're approved for X, we're going to make an offer at this, and we
Yeah.
think it might go to that. Give me that number.
Right.
Multiple agents have said, but keep in mind that you do need to show proof to buyer's agent that you truly outbid the other offers.
I disagree with that.
Donna?
You do.
If
Now, unless, in your scenario, no.
His is different because he
Yours is
showed it and he
different.
amended.
So got it. So my scenario is different. I looked at all
Right.
the offers, crossed it out, sent it, go there.
Right.
If you're exercising the escalation clause, you don't
have
have
to
to
show.
show, but you have to verify, to
Well, yeah, you
cross out
redact,
the who's
you
who
redact
and
the names and stuff like that and just make sure that you show that.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I've just
It
never
doesn't
been a
always
fan.
beat out, though. I had somebody that, and they've closed, so, but they bought a house. They escalated $110,000 above the asking price.
That's a big number.
It was huge. There was another one that they actually ended up beating out that was 115,000 higher than their escalation. But the terms of the contract, ours was cleaner. It also was a 2.5-week closing cash contract.
Scott, what do you think?
I think we just got to 500 members on Culpeper Community Spotlight.
Culpeper Community Spotlight. Follow their group. It's
Yay.
fantastic. Scott and his team are doing a great job with that group.
I do want to rally back to this home inspection thing that we talked a couple of times, because this was an important conversation I had yesterday that I think whoever's listening and watching, this is a good example. And I'd love to you two guys to chime in. I'll leave who, what, when, and where out of it. It's local. I'll do that much. I got a phone call because I happen to still have a Class A general contractor's license from a buyer who we happen to know didn't use the owner and I, went and did a sight unseen, no home inspection purchase. And the house has, this was a young couple, used all their cash to buy it. Home has black mold in it.
Oh, no.
I can use the M word because I got a license that says I can. Black mold, structural problems in the attic. And turned out to be, and this may be the saving grace, it was a, help me out, Donna, here, meth lab.
Oh, and it wasn't disclosed.
It was not disclosed.
Oh,
So they can get their money back?
Well, I've referred them to an attorney is what
Yes.
I did.
He
But
only plays one on TV.
Yeah.
But-
Stayed at a Holiday Inn Express.
There's remediation companies for that now.
Yeah. ISC.
Yeah.
well, I don't know if they do particularly meth labs,
I was
but
more
you have-
mold than mold.
the mold end of
I don't
it,
know
yeah.
many local
Yeah.
companies that are doing meth lab remediation.
Yeah, so, well, I think that's what Scott
I'm
was
saying it exists, and we're close enough to, I'm not gonna.
I thought he
Stop,
meant the
stop.
mold.
Yeah,
I thought he meant the mold.
So the conversation, I was there, I was, okay, look, we got ISC. ISC can help you with this, da-da-da-da-da. Let's reach out to Scott, see if you got any equity built into it, see if you can get a little cash, until they showed me the documentation on the meth lab. And I said,
Wow,
you
yeah.
need to talk to a lawyer.
Yeah.
The point is, this young couple got desperate. And they're people we know since they were zero, and just felt embarrassed to call us
Wow.
until it got beyond this point that, look, we need help. So,
Yeah,
please
and
be
it's
careful
scary.
out there.
And even if you don't have a home inspection, there are still things in the contract, unless they're crossed out, that says, and I only know these things because I look at them all the time, but paragraph 16C says, if you don't have a home inspection, the following things still have to work. And
Correct.
unless that's crossed out, you still have to have things that work. And you still have a walkthrough.
So one of the things that Yona and I do,
So they're outs,
There are,
is what she's saying.
well,
if the window doesn't open or it won't stay open at the walkthrough,
you have to,
He's not a
You
big
have to be
fan of
careful.
these outs.
well, it's not that I'm not a big fan of them, but to quantify it, if that window was the same when you did your initial walkthrough and you signed the contract,
Right.
then it is not an out.
Right.
If it was working when you did the walkthrough and wrote the contract and walked through it, I actually had a situation
Yes.
once where a piano went through a front door.
Ooh,
And, you
They're
know,
really heavy. How did that happen?
I think alcohol was involved.
That's
I may
There you
be
go.
wrong.
he threw it down the
Dude,
stairs.
that's
No,
what-
it was not me. It was for a buyer.
Don't ask me to help you move.
It was not for me. It was for a buyer.
And Elizabeth Oliver, I've had 2 similar offers over the escalation ceiling. Both offers were the same. We asked for the highest and best. My client went with the lower offer with better terms. It was $25,000 less than the highest offer. Flexibility and terms are important.
Amen.
Yeah, they are. And sometimes it's when are you going to close? Or can I rent back? That's a big one now.
Want to talk about that, guys?
Do they have the flexibility to let you stay a little bit
Seller
longer?
possession.
Yeah,
So that was the conversation, Donna, I had with those buyers, was because they were willing to allow the seller, and I wanted
Up to how many days?
60 days.
60 days.
I wanted them to know, unless it's cash,
Right.
unless
Right.
it's cash.
Travis Hackworth, it seems that Donna is a huge proponent of affordable housing. What types of programs has she encountered that localities can use to encourage developers to build affordable housing versus going the easier route for the market rate moneymakers?
I really personally haven't. I've been on some boards. I go to, now that we're getting back in somewhat normal life after staying at home forever, I do try to go to meetings and stuff like that and learn as much as possible. I am not on any boards. That's Keith's forte. more
Land
so
trust
than
is a
me.
good one.
It is. Land trust is a really great one. And why more people haven't figured that one out?
It took,
You all had to do backflips.
It takes some explanation for the
it's a difficult model to explain.
more layman. It's a difficult model.
It's
to
a
explain, yeah.
difficult
It is.
model to explain. Part of the reason for the success is the team that's part of the land trust, and chatting with folks on a regular basis. We just recently got $625,000 from Albemarle County, which is huge, to put 12 new homes in the ground. That 625 will generate about $3.5 million worth of affordable housing for folks making between 50 to 60% AMI, and those will be in the ground and occupied by the end of this year.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. Well done. Scott, Donna, and Keith, how about some closing thoughts on the Wednesday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith, presented by Ross Mortgage Morris? Scott Mortgage Morris.
I'll keep ringing the same bell. As Will was talking about, Keith, if you are out there being an advocate for your client, and they didn't hit the wins, it's ebbs and flows. We see more inventory come on. We see more offers get accepted. We go through some times of struggle. Educate your clients. Keep them positive. Stay positive yourself. Go out. Put your best foot forward. And be kind and engaging with the other trusted professionals, even if maybe that's not even if you're getting don't call me's and things like that. The more that you go out and advocate, the more success you and your clients are going to find.
Good take.
Yeah. I agree. You need to make sure you have a realtor, whether you're buying or selling. You really need a realtor that knows what they're doing. Meet with them, let them know what your ideas are, what your goals are, and, again, play nice with your fellow realtors, and make sure you have a trusted mortgage advisor that you can actually get to answer the phone on a weekend or in the morning. Not all of them work on the weekends. And the
Scott
thing-
does.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
know he
working,
does.
I'm working.
Yeah, we work a lot, and
I
just
think everyone at
realize
this
that
table
this
works
is
on the
going to
weekends.
change.
Yeah.
What's the weekend?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you go into business for yourself. Everyone wants to go into business for themselves until they realize that they're working on the weekends and the holidays.
Right.
And after 6 o'clock and getting text from the distinguished gentleman at 5:45 in the
No,
morning.
I
You've
have-
changed that. You've changed
when was
that.
the last time?
No,
I've done-
you've changed that.
Stop tossing me on the
You've
bus.
changed
When
that.
was the last time that
It's
happened?
gotten so much better.
When was the last time that has happened?
It's been a little while.
This sounds like a conversation with my wife.
It's
When
been
was
a
the
little
last
while.
time that happened?
It's,
When was the last time I did that to you, Jerry?
it's been a little while.
Okay. Don't let the people think that I'm texting you at 5:30 every morning. So
No, he texts Quentin.
actually, yeah, we do.
I know you do.
We do. But he
Doesn't
starts.
surprise me.
He started first. So I wanted to get to something today, which we'll have to save for another show. Competence, right? Professionalism beats cash. And there's about 6 or 7 tips that I wanted to talk about. So we'll save this for another show. That you can beat cash in contracts. There's some tips that we can do this. So we'll talk about that in a future show.
So Friday, Juan Diego Wade and Lloyd Snook.
Juan Diego Wade and Lloyd Snook, we're going to talk about updating, hey, what's going on in the city of Charlottesville, budget's over, what's going to be going on with that. Going to take an opportunity to, and I've been working on it, how to explain the wins that we've had on the resales on the land trust on Nassau Street. And so we're going to tackle that, and housing affordability, which we're all passionate about.
Yes.
I love it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Real Talk with Keith Smith, Ross Mortgage, and Scott Mortgage Morris. Donna Patton was unbelievable.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Well,
the
thank
expectations were high. You surpassed them, like you always do. The show archived at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. Check out the new website, realtalkwithkeithsmith.com, and I encourage everyone watching the program to like the Facebook page, Real
And
Talk
share
with
it.
Keith
Yeah.
Smith, and
Yeah.
share it, guys. Judah Whitcower is our director. For Keith, Scott, Donna, my name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the Wednesday edition of this show. Take care. Bravo. You'll tell us when the mics are off here.
And did you notice? I can't find my phone, and I have that.